50 ariayaki ka aral and no more nesgarla and 25 pismatigaimel speech mech far owing to a foul logo out the lights dim. A single spotlight illuminates the stage. The energy is palpable as footsteps echo across the floor. The audience falls silent. Ladies, let me ask you something right now. How many of you have apologized today for taking up space? How many of you have said, sorry, for having an opinion, for speaking up, for simply existing in a room where you belong? I see those hands. I see the nods. I see the recognition in your eyes because I've been there too. My name is Priyanka Chopra, and I'm here to tell you something that might make you uncomfortable, something that might challenge everything you've been taught about being a good girl, a nice girl. I'm here to tell you that 2025 is the year we stop apologizing for our ambition. This is the year we stop dimming our light so others feel comfortable. This is the year of no more nice girl. Pause for effect, scanning the audience. You know, when I was 7 years old growing up in India, my grandmother pulled me aside and said something that would haunt me for decades. She said, "Beta, you are too loud. A good girl should be quiet, should be nice, should make others comfortable." And you know what I did? I believed her. For years, I believed that my worth was measured by how comfortable I made everyone else feel, by how much I could shrink myself to fit into their expectations. But here's what nobody tells you about being the nice girl. Here's what they don't warn you about when they teach you to smile when you don't mean it, to agree when you disagree, to apologize for your own dreams. The nice girl never gets the promotion. The nice girl never gets her ideas heard. The nice girl watches from the sidelines while others take credit for her work, while others live the life she was meant to live. I remember my first day on a Bollywood set. I was 17, fresh-faced, eager to please. The director looked at me and said, "Just be pretty and don't cause any trouble." And you know what I did? I nodded. I smiled. I said, "Of course." Because that's what nice girls do. We don't cause trouble. We don't make waves. We just exist quietly in the background, grateful for whatever scraps of opportunity were thrown. But that nice girl, she was dying inside. That nice girl was suffocating under the weight of everyone else's expectations. That nice girl was disappearing, piece by piece, until one day I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the woman staring back at me. Her voice rising with intensity. And that's when I made a decision that changed everything. I decided I would rather be respected than liked. I decided I would rather be authentic than agreeable. I decided I would rather be powerful than pleasant. And let me tell you something, the world was not ready for that version of Priyanka Chopra. When I moved to Hollywood, they told me to change my name. "It's too hard to pronounce," they said. "Too foreign," they said. "Too different." The nice girl would have changed it. The nice girl would have become Priya or Pry or whatever made them comfortable. But I looked at them and said, "My name is Priyanka Chopra. If you can pronounce Gyllenhaal and Schwarzenegger, you can damn well learn to pronounce Chopra." Off, audience cheers. That was the beginning of my revolution. That was the moment I realized that being nice wasn't serving me, it was serving everyone but me. And if you're sitting here tonight, if you're listening to these words, chances are you've reached that same crossroads. You're tired of being overlooked. You're tired of being underestimated. You're tired of apologizing for taking up space in a world that belongs to you just as much as anyone else. Let me tell you about Sarah, a woman I met at a conference last year. She had been working at the same company for 8 years, watching men with half her experience get promoted over her. When I asked her why she never applied for those positions, you know what she said? "I didn't want to seem pushy." Pushy. She was worried about seeming pushy, for wanting to advance in her own career. I looked at her and said, "Sarah, when was the last time you heard a man describe himself as pushy for going after what he wanted?" The silence was deafening, because men don't worry about being pushy. They call it ambition. They call it leadership. They call it drive. But we've been conditioned to call it pushy. We've been programmed to apologize for our hunger, for our dreams, for our refusal to settle for less than we deserve. And that programming runs deep. It starts early. It starts with good girls don't interrupt, and it evolves into good women don't negotiate. And before we know it, We're adults who can't even order what we want at a restaurant without feeling guilty about inconveniencing the waiter. Pacing across the stage, I want to take you back to a moment that crystallized everything for me. It was 2017, and I was sitting in a boardroom in Los Angeles, the only woman in a room full of executives discussing a project I had developed. For an hour, I watched these men debate my own creation while I sat there, smiling politely, waiting for someone to acknowledge that it was my vision we were discussing. Finally, one of them turned to me and said, "Priyanka, what do you think?" And in that moment, I had a choice. I could be the nice girl, the grateful girl, the girl who was just happy to be in the room. Or I could be the woman who knew her worth. I stood up, I walked to the whiteboard, and I said, "Gentlemen, this is my project. These are my characters. This is my vision, and if you want to change it, you're going to have to convince me, not the other way around." The room went silent. You could hear a pin drop, and then something beautiful happened. They listened. That project became The Sky is Pink, a film that earned critical acclaim and proved that stories about women, told by women for women, could succeed globally. But it almost never happened because for the first hour of that meeting, I was being the nice girl. Voice softening with emotion. How many of our dreams die in boardrooms where we smile politely while men debate our worth? How many of our innovations get buried under the weight of our need to be agreeable? How many times do we swallow our truth because we're afraid someone might call us difficult? And let's talk about that word, difficult. When a man is demanding, he's a perfectionist. When a man is focused, he's driven. When a man doesn't settle, he's uncompromising. But when we exhibit these same traits, we're difficult, we're divas, we're bitches. I've been called all of these things. Do you know what I call myself? Successful. Because here's what I learned. The moment you stop caring about being liked by everyone is the moment you start being loved by the right people. The moment you stop trying to fit into their boxes is the moment you start building your own empire. Hi, moving closer to the audience, let me tell you about Malala Yousafzai. At 15, she was shot for having the audacity to believe that girls deserve education. She could have become quiet after that. She could have decided that being nice and invisible was safer. Instead, she became the youngest Nobel Prize laureate in history. She chose courage over comfort. She chose impact over invisibility. Or consider Oprah Winfrey, who was told she was too emotional for television news. Too emotional, can you imagine? The woman who would go on to become one of the most influential media personalities in history was told she felt too much. She could have numbed herself, could have become the nice, palatable version they wanted. Instead, she built an empire on emotion, on authenticity, on the radical act of being fully herself. These women weren't nice. They were necessary. Returning to center stage, but let's get personal. Let's talk about you. Right now, in this moment, what dream are you apologizing for? What ambition are you hiding? What part of yourself are you dimming so others can shine brighter? Is it the business you want to start, but you're worried about what people will think if you fail? Is it the promotion you deserve, but you're afraid to ask for because you might seem greedy? Is it the relationship you need to leave, but you're concerned about being called selfish? Is it the creative project that keeps you up at night, but you're terrified of being judged? Whatever it is, I want you to understand something. Your dreams are not too big. You are not too much. Your ambition is not unseemly. Your voice is not too loud. You have been taught to believe these things by a world that benefits from your silence, from your compliance, from your willingness to make yourself smaller. But 2025 is different. 2025 is the year we reclaim our space. 2025 is the year we stop asking for permission to exist fully in our own lives. Or voice building and intensity. I want to tell you about a conversation I had with my mother last year. She said, "Priyanka, sometimes I worry that you've become too assertive, too independent. Men might find it intimidating." And I looked at this woman who had sacrificed her own dreams to support mine. This woman who had taught me to be strong by watching her be selfless. And I said, "Mama, I'd rather be alone and authentic than partnered and pretending." And you know what? That conversation broke my heart because I realized that even the women who love us most have been conditioned to see our power as a problem. Even our mothers, our sisters, our friends sometimes ask us to dim our light because they've been taught that brightness in women is dangerous. But let me tell you something about the right man, about the right people, about the right opportunities. They are not intimidated by your power. They are inspired by it. They don't want you smaller. They want to grow alongside your expansion. They don't see your success as competition. They see it as collaboration. My husband Nick once said to me, "I fell in love with your ambition before I fell in love with your beauty." That's when I knew I had found someone worthy of my energy. Not someone who wanted to dim me, but someone who wanted to shine alongside me. Moving through the audience Sage. But here's what nobody tells you about choosing authenticity over agreeability. It's not easy. When you stop being the nice girl, some people will not like it. Some friends will distance themselves because they preferred you when you were manageable. Some family members will express concern about your new attitude. Some colleagues will whisper about how you've changed. And they're right. You have changed. You've changed from someone who lives for everyone else's comfort to someone who lives for your own truth. You've changed from someone who apologizes for existing to someone who celebrates their presence. You've changed from someone who asks permission to someone who grants it to themselves. Let them whisper. Let them worry. Let them adjust. Your job is not to manage their discomfort with your growth. Your job is to grow. I remember when I first started speaking out about pay inequality in Hollywood. The nice girl would have stayed quiet, would have been grateful for whatever she was given. But I looked at the numbers. I saw male co-stars earning 10 times what I was making for the same work, and I thought, enough. When I started demanding equal pay, some people called me ungrateful. They said I should be happy to be working at all. They reminded me that I was an outsider, that I should be thankful for the opportunity. And you know what I said? Gratitude and self-worth are not mutually exclusive. I was returning to center stage. I can be grateful for opportunities and still demand equality. I can appreciate where I am while fighting for where I deserve to be. And so can you. You can love your job while negotiating for better pay. You can appreciate your relationship while setting boundaries. You can honor your family while living your truth. This is not about becoming hard or mean or uncaring. This is about becoming discerning. This is about understanding that kindness without boundaries is not kindness, it's people pleasing. Generosity without limits is not generosity, it's self-destruction. The no more nice girl movement is not about being unkind. It's about being unkind to yourself. It's about refusing to sacrifice your dreams on the altar of everyone else's comfort. By voice softening but remaining powerful, let me share with you the 3 pillars of living authentically, the 3 principles that transformed me from a people-pleasing nice girl to a woman who owns her power. First, your value is not determined by their comfort. Read that again. Your value, your worth, your dreams, your ambition, your very existence is not dependent on how comfortable you make other people feel. You are not responsible for managing everyone else's emotions. You are not a thermostat designed to regulate the temperature of every room you enter. When I first arrived in Hollywood, I tried to be the Indian actress who wasn't too Indian. I tried to be ethnic enough to be exotic, but palatable enough to be mainstream. I was exhausting myself trying to be the perfect temperature for everyone else while slowly freezing to death inside. Then I realized something revolutionary. The right opportunities, the right people, the right life, they don't require you to thermostat yourself. They celebrate the full range of who you are. Second, your dreams are not up for debate. When you share your vision with someone and they immediately tell you all the reasons it won't work, remember this, they're not qualified to judge dreams. They lack the courage to pursue themselves. I can't tell you how many people told me I couldn't make it in Hollywood. The industry isn't ready for someone like you, they said. There aren't roles for Indian women, they said. You should stick to Bollywood, they said. I looked at them and thought, maybe the industry isn't ready. But I'm not here to wait for readiness. I'm here to create it. And that's what I did. I didn't wait for Hollywood to change. I became the change. Your dreams don't need their permission. Your goals don't require their approval. Your vision doesn't need their validation. Stop submitting your life plan for review by people who aren't qualified to grade it. Third, your boundaries are not suggestions. They are requirements. The nice girl suggests. The empowered woman requires. For years, I was a boundary suggester. Maybe we could, and perhaps if it's not too much trouble, and only if you think it's okay. I was so afraid of being seen as demanding that I demanded nothing, and that's exactly what I got. Now, when I set a boundary, it's not a negotiation. It's information. I don't work weekends. I need this information by Tuesday. This conversation is over, not suggestions. Requirements. Pacing with renewed energy, and let me tell you what happened when I started implementing these principles. My career exploded, not because I became mean or difficult, but because I became clear. Clarity is magnetic. People don't know what to do with wishy-washy, but they respect definitive. When you know what you want and you're willing to ask for it, the world rearranges itself to accommodate your certainty. When you stop apologizing for your existence, people stop questioning your right to be there. But the most beautiful thing that happened wasn't professional, it was personal. I started attracting different people into my life. Instead of people who wanted to manage me, I attracted people who wanted to collaborate with me. Instead of people who wanted to fix me, I attracted people who wanted to grow with me. Instead of people who were threatened by my success, I attracted people who were inspired by it. Moving closer to audience again, I want to address something that might be running through your minds right now. Some of you might be thinking, this sounds selfish. Some of you might be worried that choosing yourself means abandoning others. Let me tell you about true generosity. True generosity comes from overflow, not from emptiness. When you are full, when you are living authentically, when you are honoring your dreams, when you are respecting your boundaries, you have something real to give. When you are empty, when you are people-pleasing, when you are living for everyone else's comfort, you have nothing genuine to offer. The nice girl gives from depletion and resents it. The authentic woman gives from abundance and loves it. My work with UNICEF, my efforts to promote girls' education, my advocacy for equal pay, all of this became more powerful when I stopped trying to be nice and started trying to be effective. When I stopped worrying about being liked and started focusing on making a difference. You cannot give what you do not have. You cannot lift others up from a place of your own diminishment. You have to fill your own cup first, not because you're selfish, but because empty vessels have nothing to pour. Why voice rising with passion? And let's talk about fear, because I know that's what this really comes down to for many of you. Fear of being alone, fear of being disliked, fear of being criticized, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of being too much or not enough. I've been there. When I first started speaking my truth, when I first started setting boundaries, when I first started demanding what I was worth, I was terrified. What if they reject me? What if they replace me? What if I end up with nothing? But then I realized something. I already had nothing. I had a life that wasn't mine, dreams that weren't acknowledged, relationships that required me to be someone else. I was already living my worst case scenario. I just didn't recognize it because it was wrapped in the comfortable lie of being nice. The truth is, we're not afraid of failing. We're afraid of succeeding. We're afraid of what it might mean to actually live up to our potential, to take up the space we deserve, to shine as brightly as we're capable of shining. Because when you succeed authentically, when you achieve your dreams while being fully yourself, you become responsible for a new level of existence. You can't go back to playing small once you've experienced your own greatness. Eye softening, becoming more intimate. Let me tell you about my daughter, not a biological daughter, but a young woman I've mentored for the past 3 years. When I first met Zara, she was brilliant, talented, full of ideas, and completely invisible. She would speak so softly you could barely hear her. She would preface every statement with, "This might be stupid," but she would apologize before expressing opinions. Even when she was the most knowledgeable person in the room, I looked at this incredible young woman making herself small, and I saw myself at 22, and I made a decision. I was going to teach her everything I wish someone had taught me. The first thing I told her was, stop apologizing for your intelligence. The second thing was, stop asking permission to have opinions. The third was, stop making yourself smaller so others feel bigger. It took months. Old patterns die hard. But slowly, I watched this brilliant woman emerge from the shell of the nice girl she thought she was supposed to be. She started speaking up in meetings. She started pitching her ideas. She started negotiating her salary. She started dating men who celebrated her success instead of feeling threatened by it. Last month, she called me crying. Not sad tears, happy tears. She had just been promoted to head of her department, beating out candidates with twice her experience. And you know what she said? Priyanka, for the first time in my life, I didn't get something because I was nice. I got it because I was the best. Voice becoming more urgent. That's what I want for every single one of you. I want you to be chosen not because you're convenient, not because you're agreeable, not because you're safe. I want you to be chosen because you're excellent. I want you to be promoted because you're qualified. I want you to be loved because you're authentic. I want you to be successful because you're talented. But first, you have to choose yourself. You have to promote yourself in your own mind from nice girl trying to get by to powerful woman demanding what she deserves. And let me tell you what deserving means. It doesn't mean perfect. It doesn't mean without flaws. It doesn't mean you never make mistakes. Deserving means human. Deserving means you exist. Deserving means you have dreams and goals and opinions and boundaries just like every other person on this planet. You don't earn the right to take up space by being perfect. You earn it by being born. Moving across the stage with determination, I want to talk to the mothers in the audience because I know some of you are thinking about your daughters. You're worried that if you change, if you stop being the nice woman, you'll somehow damage them. Let me tell you something. The greatest gift you can give your daughter is the example of a woman who knows her worth. Your daughter is watching how you negotiate. She's watching how you set boundaries. She's watching whether you chase your dreams or abandon them for everyone else's comfort. She's learning from you what it means to be a woman in this world. Do you want to teach her to apologize for her ambition? Do you want to show her that women's dreams come second? Do you want her to believe that being liked is more important than being authentic? Or do you want to show her what it looks like when a woman owns her power? Do you want her to see that mothers can have dreams beyond motherhood? Do you want her to witness what happens when a woman refuses to settle for less than she deserves? The nice girl raises daughters who apologize for existing. The authentic woman raises daughters who celebrate their existence. Addressing different sections of the audience to the students here tonight, stop studying how to fit in and start studying how to stand out. Your uniqueness is not a bug in the system, it's your competitive advantage. The world doesn't need another copy of someone else. It needs the first and only version of you. To the entrepreneurs, stop building businesses that make you comfortable and start building businesses that make you proud. Stop asking, will they like it? And start asking, will it matter? The market doesn't need another nice product. It needs solutions that are so good they can't be ignored. To the employees, stop being indispensable by doing everyone else's job and start being invaluable by excelling at your own. Stop volunteering for every thankless task and start volunteering your expertise where it can make the biggest impact. To the mothers, stop sacrificing yourself on the altar of perfect motherhood and start showing your children what a fulfilled woman looks like. They need to see you chase your dreams, not just support theirs. To the wives and partners, stop being the supporting character in your own love story and start being the protagonist. Stop managing his comfort at the expense of your growth. The right partner wants to grow with you, not control your growth. Returning to center stage with renewed intensity, and to every single woman in this room, stop waiting for permission to live your life. Stop asking if it's okay to want what you want. Stop apologizing for taking up space in a world that belongs to you just as much as anyone else. 2025 is not just another year. 2025 is the year we collectively decide that we're done. Done with dimming our light. Done with apologizing for our ambition. Done with making ourselves smaller so others feel bigger. Done with being nice instead of being real. But let me be clear about what this transformation looks like in practice, because authenticity without strategy is just chaos. Speaking more directly, as if giving advice to a friend, when you walk into a meeting tomorrow, you don't speak louder, you speak with more conviction. When you're negotiating your salary, you don't become aggressive, you become prepared. When you're setting boundaries in your relationship, you don't become cold, you become clear. The no more nice girl movement is not about becoming harsh. It's about becoming honest. It's not about being mean. It's about being meaningful. It's not about burning bridges. It's about building the right ones. Here's what it looks like day by day. Instead of saying, sorry to bother you, you say, I need 5 minutes of your time. Instead of saying, this might be a stupid idea, you say, I have a proposal. Instead of saying, I recommend we do this. Instead of saying, I hope this is okay, you say, this is what works for me. You small changes, powerful shifts. The cumulative effect is revolutionary. A voice becoming more personal and vulnerable. I won't lie to you. This journey isn't always comfortable. There were nights when I lay awake wondering if I had made the right choice. There were moments when the old me, the nice girl who just wanted everyone to be happy, would whisper that I was being too much, too demanding, too difficult. There were relationships that couldn't survive my evolution. There were opportunities that disappeared when I stopped being willing to accept less than I was worth. There were people who preferred the old version of me, the version that made them feel bigger by being smaller. And you know what I learned? Good riddance. Because on the other side of those uncomfortable moments, those difficult conversations, those necessary endings, was a life that finally felt like mine. On the other side was work that energized me instead of drained me. On the other side were relationships that celebrated me instead of tolerated me. On the other side was a version of myself that I actually liked. Moving through the audience with growing excitement. And let me tell you about the magic that happens when you start living authentically. Opportunities you never imagined start appearing. People you never thought you could connect with start gravitating toward you. Ideas you never dared to voice start becoming reality. When I stopped trying to be the Indian actress Hollywood wanted and started being the global artist I knew I was, Quantico happened. When I stopped accepting romantic comedy roles that required me to be the decorative girlfriend and started demanding complex characters, the white tiger happened. When I stopped apologizing for my accent and started celebrating my multicultural identity, my production company happened. Every time I chose authenticity over agreeability, my world expanded. Every time I chose my truth over their comfort, new possibilities emerged. And this isn't just about career success. This is about life satisfaction. This is about waking up excited about your day instead of dreading it. This is about looking in the mirror and recognizing the woman looking back at you. This is about going to sleep proud of how you showed up in the world. Addressing the audience directly. So I want you to make a commitment with me right now. I want you to choose one area of your life where you're going to stop being nice and start being real. Just one area to begin with. Is it your job? Is it your relationship? Is it your friendships? Is it your family dynamics? Is it your creative pursuits? Is it your health? Is it your finances? Choose one area where you're going to stop apologizing for wanting what you want. Choose one relationship where you're going to start setting boundaries. Choose one dream you're going to stop treating like a hobby and start treating like a goal. Don't try to revolutionize everything at once. Revolution is sustainable when it's strategic. Pick your battlefield. Master that territory. Then expand. Voice building to crescendo, because here's what I know for certain: the world needs what you have to offer. The world needs your ideas, your perspective, your unique combination of experiences and insights and talents. But the world can't benefit from your gifts if you're too busy being nice to share them. The world needs your solution to the problem you're uniquely qualified to solve. The world needs your voice in the conversation you're uniquely positioned to lead. The world needs your leadership in the area where you're uniquely gifted. But you have to stop asking permission to offer your gifts. You have to stop apologizing for having something valuable to contribute. You have to stop waiting for someone to discover you and start discovering yourself. The nice girl waits to be chosen. The authentic woman chooses herself. The nice girl hopes someone will notice her potential. The authentic woman demonstrates her power. The nice girl wishes things were different. The authentic woman becomes the difference. Slowing down, becoming more reflective, and let me tell you something about legacy. When I think about how I want to be remembered, I don't want to be remembered as the woman who never caused any trouble. I don't want to be remembered as the woman who was always pleasant and agreeable. I want to be remembered as the woman who caused the right kind of trouble. I want to be remembered as the woman who was pleasant to people who deserved it and challenging to systems that needed to change. I want to be remembered as the woman who refused to make herself smaller so others could feel bigger. I want to be remembered as the woman who took up her rightful space and inspired others to take up theirs. Your legacy is not written in the comfort you provided others. Your legacy is written in the courage you showed yourself. Why final movement across the stages? So as we prepare to step into 2025, as we prepare to close the chapter on the nice girl and open the book on the authentic woman, I want you to remember this: you were not born to be background music in someone else's symphony. You were born to compose and conduct your own masterpiece. You were not born to be a supporting character in someone else's story. You were born to be the protagonist of your own adventure. You were not born to dim your light so others feel comfortable in their darkness. You were born to shine so brightly that you illuminate the path for others to find their own light. The nice girl era is over. The authentic woman era has begun, and it begins with you. It begins with the woman sitting in that seat right now. It begins with the decision you make when you leave this auditorium tonight. Will you go back to apologizing for your dreams? Or will you go back to pursuing them? Will you go back to asking permission to exist fully? Or will you go back to granting that permission to yourself? Will you go back to being nice? Or will you go back to being real? Final pause. Looking directly at the audience, the choice is yours. The power is yours. The time is now. 2025, the year of no more nice girl. The year of authentic woman. The year of you. Stand up. Take up space. Own your power. The world is waiting. Lights begin to dim as applause builds a remember this moment. Remember this feeling. Remember this decision. And tomorrow, when the world tries to convince you to go back to being small, remember who you really are. You are not too much. You are not too little. You are exactly enough, and it's time the world knew it. Thank you. Lights out. Standing ovation, Hej.